Welcome to SprintlyWorks podcast. We are here to discuss business, management, and innovation. I'm your host, Rahul Abhisek, the CEO and partner at Strategico Global and SprintlyWorks. Strategico Global is a Nordic-based management consulting firm with a goal to accelerate the progress of strategic corporate initiatives with a team of graduate analysts and senior consultants. My guest today is Fernando Trolia Slamic, Director of Strategy and Business Development at Vaisala, a company that provides innovative measurement solutions. Vaisala helps weather-critical businesses to be more safe, efficient, and resilient to a rapidly changing climate. In this episode, we'll deep dive into the ever-evolving landscape of business, bringing you insights, strategies, and stories from frontline business leaders. Today, we'll discuss service business models and how they are being shaped by latest AI technologies. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome Fernando here. And Fernando, if you could please introduce yourself, what you do at Vaisala, as well as a few words about the company itself.
Thank you, Rahul. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to talk about topics that I'm passionate about. And myself have a background in engineering and in business, and I'm leading the business development team in the weather business of Vaisala. And as you mentioned, Vaisala, it's a company that specializes in measurements, but also into modeling, and especially into atmospheric phenomena. And I think that's what the brand is known most in the world. And we've been born 90 years ago, so we like to say we are a 90-year-old startup with a lot of focus on science and technology.
Great. Thank you so much, Fernando, for the introduction. Now let's get to the topic for the day. Now the topic is services. So my first question to you is, what do you think is the importance of services and service offering for a manufacturing company like Vaisala?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in general, we always talk about our business in particular. I see that manufacturers of equipment of any kind, they tend to have an opportunity to develop a service business naturally, because those equipments, when they are in the field, either outdoors or indoors, they tend to have a need for maintenance, for example, for inspections, calibration, and so on. So that gives the right first to a manufacturer to develop a service model. And in particular, talking about running a service model, we notice that in the market, they tend to find specialized companies who do service as a business itself, not exactly manufacturing. Of course, they have an advantage of having the competence and the mindset to run a service business model. But for manufacturers in particular, this presents an opportunity, I think, because it gives you the right to extend the cooperation with your customers after you have delivered the equipment, and to increase the intimacy or the stickiness into the business that actually unlocks new levels of value for your customers.
Yeah, definitely. So on these lines of offering services, what are your thoughts on how can businesses distinguish themselves via their service offering, especially in the current economic climate?
Yeah, I mean, from economics and let's say business risk point of view, naturally running a manufacturing or product hardware-oriented business is quite different from running a service business. Typically, they not only require different competences, but also different KPIs, and also the risk profile is different as well, right? From revenue point of view, collection, and so on, and liabilities as well. So, but it gives the opportunity, as I said earlier, for manufacturers to differentiate, especially against other manufacturers, right? Because you support the customer during the lifetime of the use of your solution or your product, right? And increases, of course, the intimacy by enabling seamless integration into your customer processes and also systems, right? And therefore, as I said earlier as well, it gives the opportunity to value, which is, for example, extending the lifetime of an equipment, making predictions about the performance, and also acting in a preemptive way or in a preventive way towards the servicing of the business.
Yeah. So let's double click on this particular time that we have right now with the whole economic climate. How do you think we could or organizations could leverage service innovation and offering when it comes to delivery to customers?
Well, in this context in particular, of course, as I said earlier, the business models and the business risk are different from a manufacturing business into a service business. But especially in challenging times or uncertain times, the service revenue or business as such gives an extra resilience to the existing manufacturing business model, I believe, because it expresses the revenue over a certain period of time and encourages the whole value chain to be more stabilized, to cooperate more, to share more, and therefore increase the resilience of the whole supply chain or value chain.
Yeah. Definitely, that is very true. Considering service is something that is always required, and of course, as you mentioned, in many cases we have services which are preventative in nature, which supports the life of a given product, of a physical tangible product, and which is obviously very useful for customers with small amount of investments. So it makes a lot of sense. With that, let's transition to our next topic, and of course, the topic of our time, which is AI. So what truly excites you regarding the possibilities of AI with respect to, again, service creation, offering, and new emerging business models?
Absolutely. I mean, we are all part of the world, and we are all talking about the same thing these days, right? But I have to say, of course, I'm not a technology expert. I come more from, let's say, traditional engineering and business management, as I mentioned in the introduction. But of course, we are trying to embrace, the benefits and mitigate the risk of these new technologies in the world. I have to make maybe a small clarification that as how I see it is that, AI as such is a discipline that has existed for quite many decades in the world. And there is a bit of confusion probably in the media of what AI really is. There are different techniques and tools, as I said, that have been existing for a long time, especially in the optimization space and modeling. Maybe what is more exciting these days is these new transformer models or more generative AI models, as they are called, because now they are being able to digest and also make recommendations or insights or generate, in fact, that's where the name comes from, generate new knowledge by, using parameterization of, usually unstructured exchanges between humans before. And what I'm excited about in this case is the empowering effect that these advanced technologies are having. For example, and not only the data availability and the volumes that these systems can crunch or process is quite staggering. It's spectacular, something that no human could do. But that's not, let's say, particular to generative AI. It has been an AI capability for the last few decades. But what is interesting now is that the ability or the smoothness or the intuitiveness of interacting with this technology that is now making it available to more and more professionals who don't necessarily come from the domain of computer science or data analytics and so on, but more like, generic knowledge workers. Like, I see myself in that category, of course, and it's enabling me to automate certain activities that I did before, and to digest and help me to argumentate better the insights, and also to focus more in higher value-added activities, like, quality control, or actually focusing, on how to communicate things more, where before, we had to spend more time into analytical work, for example. So I think that's what I'm excited about.
Definitely. I think it definitely is a massive enabler for many of our peers, white collar workers. Analytical capabilities are enhanced, and we're able to do much more, much sooner and quicker. However, with every kind of new innovation technologies, there is always the other side as well, which is how do you think, for example, companies should go about adopting such technologies? And what do you think they should be more careful or consider when adopting such technologies in their workflow?
Yeah, absolutely. Every solution, sometimes they say, generate new problems. For sure, there are risks, of course, but try not to get into the domain of ethics and so on. There are, of course, I think better experts to discuss with. When you think about the corporate environment or the manufacturing B2B company space, we see the benefits of, for example, automating tasks or reducing the response time to customers, for example, in customer support activities, also doing analytics, right? That's when we're talking about as AI or generative AI in a capability, organizational capability perspective, right? On the product side, we in our business we have already been using machine learning techniques for modeling and forecasting, which is part of our business as well. But also we have seen the opportunity to use generative AI to produce, for example, weather reports that actually a non-expert and non-meteorologist could understand better, right? Which are highly customized to the needs of a particular application or a customer problem. And also another area that we have been experimenting with and we see the potential already is in software development, right? Again, here, typical knowledge worker activities is software development, coding. We can produce the base code, using generative AI solutions, and then our developers can focus on higher value-added activities, like in the bigger architectural perspective, or also on doing the quality control and making sure that the user side is more robust. But coming back to the challenges, as you mentioned, one situation of these new technologies, starting from machine learning already into neural networks and so on, we have created this as a humanity, this black box effect that sometimes, the outcomes of these models are a bit unpredictable or unexplainable, even by the experts. And we are into situations like producing hallucinations or actually, let's say, inaccuracies in responses, right? But to a human, it would be like an obvious confusion. It's still easy for us to detect that type of mistakes, those type of mistakes. But yeah, for the system, not yet, which in a way also gives a glimpse of hope that I think the best value of using these technologies would always be in the combination, in the hybrid usage between the automation part produced by the AI and also the human interface to make sure that, they still, produces like valuable outcomes and, with proper sense. So yeah, it's a balance, I think, between both.
Definitely. It has this both sides. However, now the organizational leadership has this new tool as well as the various kind of teammates that we have at our companies. How do you think the leadership should go about informing their teammates and peers about such adoption and awareness about where they need to be more careful with, and what are some of the potential use cases where they should in fact more quicker adopt such technologies?
Yeah.
So how do you think they should go about this communication?
I think the leadership of a company, has a critical role into, creating or fostering an environment of experimentation. The beauty of these new solutions and new tools is that they're very intuitive, as we mentioned earlier. So they're accessible to anyone willing to experiment, from producing text to producing images and video and even audio these days. So the entry barrier for someone to try them is really low now. So then the leadership, I think, has the role of first creating, as I said, this environment of experimentation and making it available to everybody, but also to be a bit critical into which areas or which are the use cases, as you said, that can create more value, right? Because I think we can always be busy, but it would be always better to be busy on something that creates value for customers. And identifying those use cases at high level is very critical. So like an end-to-end analysis from all the value creation across the company, from software development is an area that we have identified has the potential to create value by being more productive, and also automating like low value added activities, customer support, looking for answers into your own literature and knowledge bases inside your company to respond to a customer faster. That's another beautiful example of how this can work. And also for automating like commercial activities, marketing, digital marketing activities, that's another area. But coming back to your question, I think the role of the leadership is, as I said before, creating this environment to experiment, but especially to be critical. What are the areas or activities that can really make a difference by using these type of tools? Let's just not swamp everybody with this and try to take attention out of current activities for customers.
True, true, very true, very true. So, with that, Fernando, we've come to an end to our podcast. But before we do so, what do you think would be your final thoughts on what should our listeners of the podcast have a takeaway from this particular conversation of ours?
Maybe the key observation or reflection from my side, these new technologies carry a lot of potential benefits, but also risks, as we say. But coming back to the original scope, which was B2B manufacturing companies, I think these technologies has been so easy to implement or to use, and the cost of running them are becoming so low. I think manufacturing companies could pay more attention into the opportunity of transforming the business from a pure, let's say, hardware product capex model into more like opex or more like servitized offering, which
Yeah,
is new technologies are actually enabled for the customers. Right.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
mainly the
Yeah, that's a great ending, Fernando. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and time with us. And wish you a great autumn. And thank you again.
Thank you, Rahul, and regards to the team.